Hi everyone, I'm Chef Susie with Escoffier Online and welcome to our live session today. Today we're going to be exploring some gluten-free flours as well as making a batch of gluten-free brownies. And today I'm also going to be highlighting Justin's almond butter spread, which I really like. I think you guys will like it too. I want to introduce you to it. So knowing all of that, let's get started. So we have our trivia contest going on until the end of the month, until Halloween Day, October 31st at midnight. You can keep answering questions until midnight. Remember, that's midnight Central Time, our time. So if you're in a different time zone, make sure that you're mindful of that so you don't get cut off if you're in the middle of your questions. The grand prize is this KitchenAid food processor. We're going to be giving away a model just like this, black in color, super nice piece of equipment for home use. It's powerful. It's not too big. It stores really well. It has a variety of attachments. It's great for chopping fruits and vegetables. It's great for shredding your carrots for your carrot cake assignment. And you can use this to kind of crush up your pineapple for the same assignment as well. Great for onions. You can even make a little bit of almond flour in here by just putting some whole or slivered or sliced almonds in here. Grind it up until it's in the flour state, and you can use that in your Viennese butter cookies, or you can use it for some of your gluten-free baking, because remember, the nut flours are great for gluten-free baking. If you can have nuts, they add a lot of texture and they add some oil, and they also add great flavor. And especially when you're baking things with these nut flours, they just seem to enhance once they start baking. So keep that in mind. Let's put this aside and we're going to get started on our brownies. Okay, so I've got some flour here. This is a blend that I'm going to be using for the brownies. So we're going to be sifting this like the flour in our assignments. We're going to be sifting our gluten-free flours as well. Here I have rice flour, I have potato starch, I have tapioca flour, and I have xanthan gum. And the flours are lighter flours, which are going to be a little more cake-like for the brownie. And the xanthan gum is going to give it a little bit of chewiness. Be careful with that, and also be careful with guar gum, because they can make your baked goods very sticky and heavy. Be careful that you're not adding too much of that. If you make a recipe that contains those items, it's too heavy, too sticky, cut back the next time. So it could be a little trial and error with your gluten-free baking. So the rice flour that I'm using is going to add a lot of lightness. This is just a white rice flour. You can use brown rice flour as well. And it's going to add a little more nutritional content and some fiber too. It's going to taste just a little bit different. So keep that in mind. You're going to, through your gluten-free baking, you're going to be making maybe your own flour blend. A lot of these flours taste very different. They have different characteristics. So find some that you like the flavors of and then make your gluten-free blend and kind of stick with that. It'll be like your own signature thing that you like. You can use corn flours as well, which also add a lot of flavor too. So back to our mix here. So I've got the rice flour, which we talked about. I've got some potato starch, which is different than potato flour. It's going to add some lightness, and I have tapioca flour. So this is a nice blend. It's great for the brownies because it's going to add a little bit of chewiness and depth, but it's still going to have that lightness. So always think of these lighter flours when you're making your cakes, unless you want a heavier cake. So please contact me by email or at 877-452-5489 if you need any help with your gluten-free flour blends, or if you have any questions. And be sure when you're using products such as buckwheat is gluten-free, but when you see it in pancake mixes as buckwheat pancakes, be mindful that those mixes oftentimes contain gluten. So be careful with that. Also be mindful with oats that it is certified gluten-free. If you're ever in doubt with any of your gluten-free flours or even any of your products, contact the manufacturer. Look on their website or look on the for the 800 number on the back of the label, and always be sure that if you're wanting to bake or cook gluten-free, that you're using the right products. It's very important because a lot of people are eating gluten-free because they have an intolerance and allergy. They may have celiac disease, so this is really serious. Take your gluten-free baking very seriously and make sure that your products that you're using are indeed gluten-free. So kind of go the extra step. If there's something you're not sure about, give me a call, call the manufacturer, check their website too. It's a great place to look. A lot of questions are answered there. Okay, so we've got our flour blend, which is nice and sifted, no lumps. And what I did earlier is I melted the butter and the unsweetened chocolate. I'm using a dark chocolate, and I let this cool to room temperature. So just go ahead and melt this on a double boiler. It's gonna make your brownies nice and tasty. Got unsalted butter in here as well as unsweetened chocolate. That's nice and cool, it's ready to go. So I've got whole eggs, I've got some granulated sugar, a little bit of salt, and a little bit of vanilla. So I'm using vanilla extract for my flavoring. You can also add other extracts such as almond extract, peppermint, super nice in brownies, especially for the holiday season, which is just around the corner. Coconut extract is great, orange, even lemon marries very well with chocolate. If you've never tried chocolate and lemon, be sure to try it. You're gonna love it a lot. So we're just whisking these eggs together. Our eggs and sugar mixture. And we have a question.
Where can I find the lighter flours?
Okay, we have a question on where can you find the flours. You can find those online. First of all, you can search online. If you need any help, be sure to let me know. I can definitely put you in the right direction. You can also buy a lot of these flours in your local grocery stores these days. They typically have a section gluten-free specialty flours. Big name brand is Bob's Red Mill. Always look for that. And you can also find them at specialty stores such as Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, if those are in your area, or any specialty stores that you might have in your area. Just ask someone in the grocery store and they'll be able to direct you to the aisle. And what's nice about the nut flours is you can make your own, like I said, by grinding some nuts, and really any grain you can grind it or pulse it in your grinder to make a flour. So keep that in mind if you're unable to find things, or if you want to make your own flours out of grains, you can. Okay, so I've got my eggs and sugar mixture mixed together, and I'm just going to be adding this chocolate and butter mixture. And does anyone have any questions? This is a nice brownie mix. It's super easy to do. If you've not done any gluten-free baking and you've been hesitating, this is a super nice thing to start with. It's so easy, and the results are delightful. It's a nice chocolatey brownie. So you have a real nice mix going here so far. And then we're just going to be folding in the flours. So when we're talking about flours that are gluten-free, that means that they're not containing the plant protein, which is the gluten in the plant, and that's what makes up that network of strands that holds all of your steam when you're baking, and it helps to rise. And it also adds a lot of chewiness to the products too, for your breads and things, and that's where the gums come into place to help out to make that structure and try to add a little bit of chewiness. But like I said, be careful. You can end up with some dense or sticky or gooey products with those. So be very careful. But gluten-free baking is fun once you start doing it. Making your own blends, you're going to have a great, you're going to really like it a lot. Okay, so we're just going to be folding in our flour mixture. And does anyone have any questions on anything so far? Like I said, this is a super easy recipe. Get your feet wet a little bit with gluten-free baking. And in case some of you aren't in the program so far, we do have a healthy baking program if you haven't heard about it. And it includes gluten-free baking, the paleo diet, diabetic baking, the vegan diet, lactose-free, and there's also a section on farm to table and reducing your carbon footprint and going green. So it's a great program. We just launched it not a long time ago. and it's offered for an introductory price right now. So keep that in mind if you've been interested in the different healthy baking diets. And what's nice too is you're going to be doing baking for these diets, but you're going to learn about the whole diet through the program, and you can apply it to the culinary side. So if you have any questions on that, be sure to give me a call if you think it's for you. I like it. It's a super great program, and we've been having a lot of success with it. Okay, so do we have any questions on anything so far? So I'm just carefully folding this flour in till we have a nice brownie mix. Okay, so I use this amount of brownie mix for 2/4 sheet pans. They're a little thinner. You can make a thicker brownie if you like. You can use 1/2 sheet pan or 2/4 sheet pans, or for a thicker brownie, you could even try to use 1/4 sheet pan and see how that works for you. So have fun with this. So after we put this in the pan, you can sprinkle some chocolate chips on top or some chopped nuts. But what I did is I took a little bit of Justin's almond butter and I spread it on top. It's a nice source of protein, adds a little texture and some super great flavor. So I'm going to show you how I did that in just a minute. And do we have any questions on anything? Okay, I'm just going to give our flour just a little more fold here to make sure it's all the way through. And then I'm just going to be portioning about half of this mixture into my pan. Okay, so I've got a pan that I put some parchment on and I sprayed it. I always put a little parchment on the bottom of my cake pans or my 1/4 sheet or 1/2 sheet pans just to ensure that things come out more quickly. Okay, so we're just going to portion about half of this. Like I said, you can bake it plain. I made a plain one as well. You can add some chopped nuts, chocolate chips, white chocolate chips. They've got some great flavored chips as well as butterscotch. So have some fun with your brownies. They're a nice little handheld snack. It's delicious and delightful for everyone and for any time of day as well. Okay, so I've got my brownie mix in the pan. Next, we're going to talk about Justin's. This is one of my personal favorites, so I do this with my brownies a lot, so I really I wanted to show everyone, so I brought some along today. Okay. Okay, so this is Justin's almond butter. This is great stuff. Once you try it, you're going to love it. And we have a question.
Two people have asked, how much would you put of other extracts?
The question is, how much would you put of other extracts into the brownies? Depending on how strong you want it. In this mix itself, I put about 1 teaspoon of the vanilla. I recommend starting with that. You can taste the mixture a little bit, and then you can add a little bit more. Maybe if you want to enhance the flavor, such as peppermint, orange, almond, coconut, or lemon, you can add maybe 1.5 teaspoons or 2 teaspoons. So a little bit more than what was initially asked for with the vanilla, I'd say, if you want a little more flavor. So what's nice too is you can ice them with different color icings. You could do your ganache on the peppermint and then put some chopped up candy canes. The orange, you could do a nice orange icing, or the lemon as well. And we're going to be using the ganache today from your first assignment. So back to Justin's almond butter. This stuff is great. You'll find yourself eating it out of the jar like Chef Susie does. This is all natural and it's organic, and it's got Justin's name right on the label. It's sold in almost every grocery store you can find it. If not, you can buy it online. Let me know if you're looking for it. He's got a super nice line. He's got peanut butter, almond butter, honey almond, hazelnut, chocolate hazelnut spread. You won't be disappointed. You can use this in your baked goods. You can put it in icings. You can put it in your oatmeal. That's what I do sometimes too. And you can even put it in your smoothies. So it's lots of fun. You can dip pretzels in it. You can use it on crackers. And like Chef Susie does, you can just eat it out of the jar. It's so good. It smells so good. You're going to love it a lot. I can't wait to open it. So since it's a nut, it's got some oil. If you see a little oil on top, you might just want to mix it up a bit. And what I did is I just put some dollops of this on my brownie, and then I swirled them in. So I'm just going to kind of show you how I did it. So like I said, this is nice. It's organic. It's gluten-free, and it's all natural. And Justin's is not far from one of our ground campuses, our Boulder campus. And he was there not long ago visiting with Michelle Escoffier, who is a great-grandson of Auguste Escoffier. So they had a nice visit. And Justin is a real person, and he started this business, you know, small. So everyone keep that in mind. If you're starting out small, stick with it. That's how all businesses start. My husband started a catering company on one little table. Okay, so what I do is I put maybe 9 or 10 of these, just depending on how much you want. And then what I do is I just swirl it together. You could even leave the dollops like this as a little treat when you get a bite, or you can kind of swirl them like I'm doing. And we have a question.
Does the nut flour change leavening at all? Would I need to use more baking powder or leavening agent?
Okay, so we have a question on the nut flours, if they're going to change the leavening at all, and if you would need to add a little bit more of your leavener. The nut flours can be a little heavier. You're going to pulse them or buy them, and they're going to be in a powder form, but they do have the fats in them, and they do tend to add some texture and just a little bit of weight. Of course, they're not going to be as light as the potato starch or the tapioca starch. So maybe just a tad more of your leavener, but be careful with that too, because that can kind of get a little big on you, and it can also add some extra flavor. So maybe just a touch. I would say the first time you make it, try it, see if you like it that way. If you want it lighter, then go ahead and lighten it up a little bit more with your leavener. So back to the brownie. So I just kind of spread my dollops, and then what I do is I just kind of swirl this all in. And I kind of go both ways. And this is going to smooth out a little bit in the oven too. And it smells great. It adds some great texture and some flavor to your brownie if you like. If not, you can just leave them plain, or, you know, chocolate chips or nuts or something like that. Okay, so I've got my brownie that I baked earlier, and I swirled in the almond butter, and it baked in nicely. It added some textures, got a little bit of a different color. So we're going to go ahead and take this out of the pan. First, we're going to just loosen up the sides a little bit. And does anyone have any questions? So please try Justin's almond butters. It's peanut butter, great products. You're just going to love them. And try them in so many things, or you can be like Chef Susie and eat it right out of the jar. Okay, so we're going to be inverting our brownie out of the pan. So what I like to do with my brownies is after I peel the paper off, I like to ice the bottom part, because the top part has a little bit of a crust, and then it's not going to stick to things as much as if you invert it. And the bottom is always perfectly smooth. So I always invert mine and ice the bottom. So I've got some ganache that I made earlier. This is just the ganache from the assignment, your first assignment, just a basic ganache, semi-sweet chocolate, couverture chocolate. Keep in mind, couverture chocolate is always between 54 and 70%. You may not see couverture on the label, but you'll see the percentages typically in the bar form. It's great. The higher the percentage, the more bitter the chocolate is going to be. If you're not used to bitter chocolates, you may want to start with a lower number. So I've got my couverture chocolate with my cream and my butter for my simple ganache. And what's nice about the ganache is you can store it in the refrigerator. You can freeze it as well. Just pull it out and melt it when you need it. So we're just going to put a little bit of ganache on our brownie. You can ice these too with the buttercream icing from the assignment. You can color it, you can flavor it, you know, whichever you like. And do we have any questions on anything so far? Please try the gluten-free brownie. You'll be sure to love it, especially if you can get some of the Justin's almond butter. You'll find it very delightful. Okay, so we're going to set this aside. Clean up our workstation a little bit. And then I've got a brownie that I iced with some ganache earlier. I'm going to take a look at that. So I made my brownie a little bit thinner because I'm going to be cutting this into smaller pieces. So the thicker ones you can cut into smaller pieces or larger pieces. So I've got the ganache and I've got some warm water, and I'm going to be dipping my knife in the warm water and then going to be drying it off. And then we're going to be cutting our brownie, and this is going to give us a nice clean cut. And do we have any questions on anything? I'm going to be trimming off the edges. And we have another question.
Can you freeze the ganache?
We have a question.
Can you freeze the ganache?
Oh, the question is can you freeze ganache? Absolutely. You can store it in the refrigerator. I store mine for a week at a time. Just be mindful of the date on the cream. You don't want that to get outdated on you. And you can freeze the ganache as well. Just make sure you're freezing it in something airtight. Okay, so I'm just trimming off my edges. This is a really nice brownie recipe. You're going to love it. Gluten-free. Can't go wrong. Then we have another question.
Will the recipe be posted on the website?
The question is, will the recipe be posted on the website? It will. And let me know if you need any help locating it. Tech support is helpful with that as well. Okay, so we've got our ends trimmed off. You can feed these to friends. You can put them in a trifle, whatever you like. Okay, so let's go ahead and cut some small squares, and then we'll put them on our plate. And do we have any questions on anything? Okay, like I said, I made this one a little bit thinner. This is just a plain brownie. I didn't put any almond butter in this one. And I'm just going to be cutting some small squares, and then we'll be plating these up. Please let me know how you're doing with your gluten-free baking. And if you have any questions on the new program, if you think it's something that you'll be interested in, just let me know. I can kind of walk you through it a little bit. Okay, so we have some nice brownie squares, nice bite size, be great for snacks or even a small buffet. Okay, so let's go ahead and we're going to put a little cream and nuts on these. Okay, so I have a little bit of whipped cream here. You can also use some buttercream or some flavored buttercream if you like. Just finishing these off.
How long do you have to refrigerate before cutting?
The question is, how long do you have to refrigerate the brownies before cutting them? Just until they're cool. You can try to cut them when they're warm. Sometimes they're a little sticky and they stick to your knife. You definitely get a cleaner cut if you let these cool off well. I refrigerated these overnight, and then I just pulled them out right before the segment, like 15 minutes, kind of slacked them out a little bit. So I just have some toasted almonds that I kind of crunched. These were sliced, and I kind of crunched some up a little bit. Also go nice with the brownies with the almond butter. So let's go ahead and put our brownies on the plate here. So we have some super beautiful brownie bites that are gluten-free. Your friends and family will be sure to love them. And please let me know if you have any questions or if you need any help with anything with your gluten-free baking. I'd be more than happy to help you. And keep answering your questions for the trivia contest. It's going to be going on until the end of the month. Everyone's having lots of fun, becoming very competitive. And we have another question.
Two questions.
Two questions.
Could we use coconut milk instead of cream for the ganache? And also, where do we get the cardboard that we're using to cut on?
Okay, so we have a few questions. While I put my strawberries, we're just adding a little bit of color to the plate here in case you're presenting this for family and friends. Just little strawberries are always nice. The red looks nice with chocolate. Okay, so the first question is can you use coconut milk in place of the cream in the ganache? Yes, you can. It's a great idea. It's going to add a lot of flavor, and then it's going to be dairy-free. Coconut milk is always a nice substitution for cream for dairy. And then the other question is where did I get the cardboards that I'm cutting on? Okay, so you can get those at any cake supply place. I had a full sheet board and I just cut it into pieces. So I would have quarters for the quarter size brownie. And I like to invert my brownies and things onto a board. I think it's easier to cut, it's easier to move around. So check one of your local cake supply places. If you can't find one, give me a call or send me a message and I'll help you find some online. So thanks for joining me today. Please call me if you have any questions. Be in touch. Let me know how you're doing with your studies as well. And please try the gluten-free brownies. Have a great weekend and we'll see you next week.